Hello all, I hope you are doing well in these extraordinary times. I would like to welcome you all to the Fintech Finance virtual arena where we are hosting you. Today we are joined by Fintech Finance regular Andreas Burner from SmartStream, and we're going to be talking a lot about AI. We've got to talk a little bit more about SmartStream Air because I think it was Cybos in London last year was where I became very, very aware of it. Mm-hmm. Very, very kind of broadly to set the tone. What exactly is SmartStream Air, and what are some of the obvious opportunities and uses for it?
All right, so SmartStream Air is our newest reconciliation system in SmartStream. It's really made to make reconciliations as simple as possible, and we use all those AI and machine learning technologies to automatically configure and make the system ready for users. So it actually allows when users want to reconcile or verify files, they can just upload those files, and within seconds, Air understands how the columns belong to each other, what are the values, where are the reference dates, and so on. And it will automatically come up with a reconciliation result within seconds. Which is really great. Yeah? We reduced it to just uploading files and getting the results.
I always find when it comes to these kind of automations, these kind of machine learning that is doing the work of many people, you almost need in the same way that cars are measured in horsepower, there kind of needs to be a similar way for strength of AI. I know we've obviously joked in the past around how big a Sudoku it could solve, but maybe in terms of people, what sort of the number of if people were doing just this, what's the kind of sort of number of people that this could, in theory, replace?
Oh, that's a difficult question. I mean, there's no golden bullet with AI, and it's not the only benefit to really replace people. That's not the target. It's what we see is that the number of transactions are continuously going up. So all banks and many of our customers have really big problems to cope with the growing number of transactions with their departments. And AI and machine learning can help them. And not in a way that we think that a robot would go to the desk and do the work, right? It's more that we specifically define tasks that are really simple to do, and they do, and at the moment banks do it throughout the day. Very simple tasks. If you replace them, there could be really good savings and efficiencies gained by that. Maybe I give you an example. Yeah, so. We see a simple task being a transaction a bank comes in and it needs to be allocated to a person or to a group. Typically, somebody is sitting there looking at that data and trying to find out, does that data belong to you or to me? Is it, based on the currency, US dollar goes to you and euro goes to me, or based on accounts? That is something AI and machine learning can simply take over. And in our world of reconciliations and in our other products, this scenario happens quite often with reconciliations coming in when there are breaks, who is following up on breaks, when there are exceptions, who is doing that exception, who is processing that exception. So that's a simple task. When it's being replaced, we can gain a lot of efficiency. And the workflows are much quicker by that because it's straight through processing by AI in doing the allocations.
So I always, my personal background on the film side, I always find it fascinating that in the 1920s you had people literally colouring in frame by frame to add elements of colour, and then of course colour film came along, and all those people that were colouring in, they're now doing other things. It's becoming they're being put to use in other ways that machine learning just cannot do. Do you think that's kind of the approach that banks seem to be taking? That rather than simply shoving everyone out the door. They're focused on, all right, how can we utilize humans for the things that AI has limitations on?
Yeah, that's an interesting topic. And there are really recent advancements when it comes to coloring films, because what has been done so far is that they try to figure out what gray color is which color. Dark gray is red and lighter gray is blue and so on. But what AI is now doing, that based on the picture and how the picture is moving, it's identifying that, for example, certain waves have to be blue. So it's correlating the movement of the picture with the color that a certain gray color needs. And it's fascinating. There have been recent papers, and you can watch it on the internet, and it's unbelievable how real and good that is looking, right? And I think that's a very good example of, machine learning and AI is not taking the direct approach. It's not just looking at the gray color and trying to paint it somehow, but it's getting much more information to identify the end result. And that's also so much needed in the banking world. You want to have everything integrated that you have in your operations department, not just the data record, but you want to have, when it comes in, what is the quality of the record? Who does it? Who works with it? You want to increase the quality of the data and so on. So we try to look at very much at a holistic approach, get all the data in and make the results better. So that's really interesting that you mentioned that with film coloring.
I think that's a very good analogy as well between obviously what you guys are doing in the banking space, and actually it can be used to, again, I'm going to keep coming back to the same word, efficiency, because it really is.
Yeah, very much. So we are running POCs in the innovation lab, and we are running a POC at the moment where we have huge amounts of data and the bank is having problems with the quality of the data. So either data is missing or the quality is just wrong. Brokers deliver bad quality data. And we really have implemented one of our machine learning libraries there to get that data from other systems and trying to identify everything which is missing. And you cannot imagine how successful that is. So we are soon going to write a white paper on that, because that's really a story to tell. It seems to be such a simple thing in the workflow. The workflow is huge of the bank, and we are just having a pre-processor that is making the data better. But the effect is so good because then everything from then on is straight through. It's being processed automatically, less manual touch points for users, much more quality for managers. It's really, really impressive.
Absolutely. Well, with that in mind, I mean, we are in the middle of 2020, which has been a turbulent year, to put it mildly. One of the interesting things I've always find is where analytics and data can be used effectively. In the US, there's quite a lot around things like the Black Lives Matter movement. And I'll be very curious to see how things, for example, such as loans are calculated, and how bad data based on, say, for example, institutionalized racism could be cleaned out of that particular data. Is there sort of scope to use AI for being very, very neutral, for being truly neutral and being based on something as pure as data, as opposed to having it poisoned, for want of a better word?
Yeah, that's one of the critical subjects in machine learning and AI, because machine learning and AI traditionally learns from data, and that data typically comes from humans, and we learn from that. So if that data is biased, a machine learns from that. And we have seen several examples where applications were automatically filtered and so on, and it just contains that bad bias in there. Recently, there have been many papers how to identify that bias, because that's important to understand, how AI and machine learning decides on what basis. and then to remove that bias from that data. And I think that's really the most interesting subject these days, because that really makes the world more objective in many ways. Yeah, we can based on really objective criterias, we can then decide things, and I think that's a good thing, a needed thing at these days. Yeah,
100%, and the applications huge across the board.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With that in mind, now there's a lot of the larger banks tend to do innovation theatre, where there's a lot of, yes, here's a fantastic proof of concept, this is great, doesn't go any further. And I understand it because it's quite a large organisation at a scale that's hard to fathom. So how can a large multinational institution actually take on board some products, for example, such as SmartStream Air, and actually implement that across their entire reach, as opposed to the older sprinkle a bit of AI on that and that should solve it? How can it actually be deployed at scale?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so
nice easy one for you.
Yeah, I like the term. So you're right. Many things are innovated at the moment because it's just a good marketing story to tell, and it's also needed, right? We should not do just innovations because there's a business case behind it. Because I think many products that we see these days have been created not with a business case in mind. Still, in SmartStream, we help our customers to reduce manual touch points, increase efficiency, and really make technology that enables them to make their business better. From a software vendor perspective, what we really want to do is we want to create components that are generically available. So once we have it in our products, all our customers can get it easily by an upgrade. So there's a big difference when at the moment a bank decides for a custom designed AI project. They might get perfect numbers, but when they do another one, they have to pay that project again. Another one, they have to pay again for that. As a software vendor, we are interested to deliver software where it works. For example, a big bank has 11 reconciliation systems. If they get our add-on, it will immediately work on all 11 systems without much tweaking. So they see the immediate effect. So we are really interested to get that technology out there. Yeah, help banks to consume that and really make their operations and their processes simpler and easier.
I think I think it's Ben Robinson from Aperture always says you want to build a new train that can work on the current railway network. You don't want to have to every year rip up a whole railway network and put it back down again. Yeah,
that's a good thing. Yeah. So we are also interested to keep our applications that are already super configured and very efficient, right, in place, but we want to make them better. There's no need for a big project or a big process when we deliver the components. So I think we are very focused on getting that out. And there's another thing that is always in the back of my mind. AI and machine learning technology is really complicated. Yeah? You need experts to master it. And it takes years to master it. But already after a few weeks or month, you see the first benefits for customers. And we want to just roll that out and give already the first things to customers. And I'm pretty sure when we talk, Eli, in 2 years, we will be somewhere else. But I think that technology requires that agile approach where you just continue to deliver pieces and pieces and help making processes better. It's not a big bang that we should be looking for.
in terms of working with AI and these kind of technologies, do you think that the type and the size of organization that are going to be deploying them and be successful are more sort of the mid-tier, or more sort of siloed sections of larger internationals?
No, I thought a big bang. Yeah, so it should not be a big approach where you get that out as one big thing, but rather have it in smaller steps. Yeah.
Gotcha. I'm with you.
Sorry for that.
No. Well, one of the things I always find kind of interesting. So let's say you deploy SmartStream Air, and you're reconciling a lot of transactions very accurately and at scale and at speed. What does that mean for the customers of the bank, but also the bank itself? What's the opportunity? What without the opportunity cost? What does it mean they can focus on? What are some of the unexpected knock-on effects of this?
Yeah, that's a fair question. So if you think about what reconciliation really does, is it reduces a risk for an organization. And when you're looking at reducing risk, you want to identify the risk as quickly as possible. These days, the big companies have data lakes where all applications store their data. And the interesting thing is, or the thing to do is, in those data lakes, to have a lot of control points. Whenever an application writes data to that data lake, you want to see, is there an exception already, or is that a valid transaction? I give you an example. Yeah, when you go to an ATM to get money, and something happens at the ATM, it's so beneficial for the bank to understand at that moment what happened, and not an hour later when it hits their books, right? You want to have it as quickly as possible. With SmartStream Air, and it's because it's so easy to set up and reconciliation, it's the perfect tool to have a lot of control points throughout the organization. And the more control points you have, the less risk, and the earlier you identify it. And that's our ultimate goal, right? To really make it simple to have that control points everywhere in the organization that automatically detect any exceptions or disputes.
A lot of big banks, in particular, as well as working with corporates, with SMEs, with retail, in wealth, they also do a lot on the insurance side. What's the potential opportunity within the insurance sector of financial services for elements such as SmartStream Air?
It is very similar. They also do data verification, which is what SmartStream Air is doing. And also insurances have lots of data, and within their organizations in different databases or data lakes. So SmartStream Air is really a tool that can be used in any organization that want to do data verification throughout their organization and identify data problems quickly so that they are resolved quickly. So we are really looking at all the big domains like insurances, banks, many corporates in the financial services industry, but also others. So it's not specific to banking.
Absolutely. When you say it's not specific to banking, I'm assuming as well that also entails elements within the bank that are not specific to banking. For example, in things such as cybersecurity, in even things like paying your staff, such as payroll. Can it be applied in various other elements of the bank, which applies to other verticals?
That's correct. And we also see that HR departments have need for such tools. And for example, customer data. Typically, big organizations have a CRM system where they have their customer data, but they also typically have other systems where they also keep customer data. And whenever you want to synchronize quickly and easily your data, SmartStream Air is a perfect choice for that. Yeah. So we have seen it working on, for example, HR or customer names and customer addresses, very, very good and easily. Yeah.
Right. So then, with that in mind, working within HR, working within reconciliation, security, insurance, across the board, how do you play then in this ecosystem? I mean, the word I'm looking for is API, but how do you kind of link and be part of this forest as opposed to kind of a walled-off castle?
So SmartStream Air is a cloud technology. So it's quite easy to roll it out. Firms just subscribe to it. They get access within an hour. So it's very quickly to roll out. So we can reach out to any corporate quite easily. They can subscribe to it quite easily. And therefore we don't have this typical delivery process, right? It also, if you think about it, I mean, now we are in this COVID-19 lockdowns where for organizations it's quite tough to purchase and install hardware. And then install software because people are just not on site, they are at home. So we see an increase in cloud technology recently, a lot. SmartStream's managed services have much more inquiries these days. So I think to get software out to those different domains, you really have to have a system that is highly available, globally available in the cloud. SmartStream Air is that. So we didn't anticipate that, yeah. But in the times where we currently live, it's actually the optimal solution for organizations that quickly and easily want to verify their data without things that are so difficult these days, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I still quite like the idea of everything in one mainframe, siloed away, in-house. I mean, it worked in the 80s. It should work today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that cloud is the golden bullet for everything. There are also mainframes still have their right to exist. But we can see that, of course, with cloud technology, we can reach a global market. We also, when you look at statistics from the big companies, what they are saying is that cloud technology has less security problems than local software. And that makes sense to me because, I mean, the big cloud providers, they are specialized in security, right? They do security all day, whereas on a bank's agenda, they want to do operations and also they do security, right? It's part of their job, but not their core business. So it makes sense to me that cloud technology is safer than on-premise technology, and I think that's the way forward, actually.
Absolutely. I mean, with all the best will in the world, I think the biggest banks are going to struggle to outspend and outthink the likes of AWS when it comes to security. Yes, I agree. And as a bank, I mean, if you step one step back and think what a bank should do, a bank does perfectly fine their operations, right? But does it produce their own paper? No, they don't produce their paper. They don't produce their pens. They don't produce computers. Why should they produce their infrastructure, right? It was done in that way that banks also are these IT companies because there was no alternative. But it's just logical these days that banks also outsource their IT infrastructure. It's not their core business. And it will be tough to keep up with the big cloud providers in future. Absolutely. Well, Andreas, thank you so much for that. I've learned a lot. How many arrays now can SmartStream Air do on a Sudoku? Because I think we got to 3.5 million last time I asked. It can be very, very large. But the interesting thing is
that it's not just solving it, but the topic of the quality, right? If the one person that made the Sudoku made errors by making it, SmartStream Air can identify those, and that's the thing, right? It will be automatically reconciling the Sudoku while solving it, and tell the creator of the Sudoku where he has made typos. So I think that's actually what reconciliation does, right? It identifies exceptions and disputes in huge amounts of data.
Very, very valid point there on the Sudoku. Well, we're actually out of time, so thank you, Andreas. That's actually all we've got today, and thanks for the viewers. Be sure to check out the rest of Andreas's interview and more stuff from SmartStream at fintechf.com. We will see you all next time.